Welcome to my Wednesday ramblings. This week we begin a new message series. The title is The Law or the Spirit of the Law. Over these next few weeks, as Jesus journeys towards the end of his time with his disciples, there are a number of occasions when the Pharisees, the scribes, the religious leaders approach him with questions, nearly always regarding an interpretation of the law, always looking to see whether they can find a way to trap or condemn him because he might be stepping outside the tradition of Moses. And yet Jesus challenges them on each occasion. Are they being obedient to the law, or are they living the spirit of the law? Particularly important as this week, the second session of the Synod on Synodality begins. And as we in Australia prayed that the Holy Spirit might open our hearts and our minds to what might be proclaimed in the world of today, so too the bishops of the world and the others who gather, the priests, religious, lay people who are in Rome at this time, that as they gather to hear the Spirit and to listen to the Spirit, that there may not be such a contentious situation where people are arguing from a standpoint rather than a spirit. It's one of the challenges that we face in parishes as we try to proclaim the gospel and yet maintain a sense of what the church is teaching. It happens in our families when people step outside what we might consider the bounds which are as special and important to us, and people live in a manner that is different from how we might live. Not judging and not saying someone's right or wrong, but there are some questions that we can look at as we strive to understand what's happening. In our gospel this weekend, the Pharisees asked Jesus, is it right to give a writ of dismissal, divorce? And Jesus says, no. In the beginning, God said, that's why. People leave father and mother and they two become one. In our world today, there's some challenges to that with the situation of same-sex relationships and so many other situations. And I'm not hopefully being thought to speak outside the spirit of what the church's teaching is. But I wonder whether we are as ready to condemn people who are in heterosexual relationships and who have no commitment to their partner, rather than condemn those who might be in same-sex relationships. It seems to me that Jesus is speaking about fidelity in a relationship. And I think that if we're looking at the spirit rather than just simply the letter of the law, that in fact may help us make a little bit better decision. As I said, I'm not arguing against the teaching of the church. I'm just wondering whether it is fidelity to relationships which Jesus is speaking about as being the most important part of the relationship. That's my starting point for this week. The Synod and the Spirit of the Law, relationships and the Spirit of the Law. I wonder what Jesus would say. Have a great week and please take care. And I'll see you next week on my Wednesday ramblings.